And this is Bree with eXp Realty at Godfrey Group. And I just wanted to introduce you to our guest speaker today. We have a very, very important topic to talk about, which is Medicare. And we know that name brings with it lots of questions, unfortunately misunderstandings, but we have Shaniya Epps here with us. Welcome, Shaniya. We're so happy to have you here with us.
Thank you. Super excited to be talking with you today, and I'm glad to be on.
Well, we are so honored to have you take this time with us again on this very important topic. And Shaniya is a healthcare benefits advisor. You'll see her contact information on the screen shortly. But we wanted to bring her on today to talk about healthcare. And Shaniya, can you just give us a little bit of information about when that open enrollment period is? We've been getting emails, text messages, postal mail. What's going on?
That's a great question, a great place to start, because we are in the open enrollment period right now. And people who are Medicare eligible will probably know that because they've noticed all that communication coming in. Open enrollment runs from October 15th to December 7th. So at this point in time, people with, eligibility for Medicare can change, add, drop, pretty much do anything that they want with their insurance because there's no time restriction or there's no eligibility restriction at this time. So very important period for people who are eligible for Medicare.
So is that me? My birthday is coming up in August and I'll be 65 years old.
You're almost there. Yes.
I'm almost there?
Yes. So you become Medicare eligible if you are a part of one of three groups. So vast majority of people in the US are eligible for Medicare when they turn 65. So you have a 7-month window from 3 months before your birthday month, and then 3 months after to sign up for Medicare. Now, there are caveats to that because a lot of people are working past the age of 65. And if you get insurance through your employer or, insurance through other avenues, that's a very important factor as to whether or not you need to sign up for Medicare when you turn 65. We could talk a lot about that, just that topic right then and there, because, everyone's situation is different.
Yes.
It matters the size of your employer, whether or not you need to sign up for Medicare. So it can get very seedy, but more or less just know that you're eligible at 65 and you need to at least start talking to somebody about what you should be doing. Now, two other eligibility groups that aren't talked about as much are people who have been on Social Security disability for at least 2 years, and people who have been diagnosed with either end-stage renal failure or Lou Gehrig's disease. So if you've had disability for at least 2 years, then you are enrolled on Medicare automatically, or at least you should be. Sometimes people fall through the cracks. Or if you've been diagnosed with kidney disease or Lou Gehrig's disease, you are eligible right away. So those populations are a lot smaller, but those are people that still are qualified for Medicare.
Is it too early to talk to you about this, or should we start talking to you if people have interest or questions? Should they reach out to you later? When is a good time for them to reach out to you?
I would say it's never, ever too early. You can never be too prepared. Talking with you, you have a few months before your eligibility period starts, but you're getting prepared. We're reviewing the unique aspects of your situation. And some people's situations might end up being very complicated, and you don't want to figure out that when you're, right on the brink of your window. You want to go into your eligibility period as prepared as possible. So, if you're 64, if you're 63, whenever you start getting that itch to want to know what your next steps are, you should do what you can to figure that stuff out.
And that's what I've learned and discovered in my conversations with Shaniya, is that there's lots of information. And then, as she says, there's your particular situation. So we did meet and we spoke for about an hour, and she provided me with so much clarity. A lot of the anxiety that I was experiencing, she helped to remove that. And so I really want to say thank you, Shaniya, for doing that. I really appreciate it. And I think that you are definitely someone that people should reach out to. And again, we'll have her contact information on the screen here. Shaniya, you thought that an important thing for us to talk about was drugs and doctors networks. What is it about that you felt we should discuss?
So there's so much that we could talk about that as well. But the one thing that I think is very important for people to know, especially Medicare eligible people, is that your insurance changes every year. It might stay roughly the same, but your plan might be the one that has some tweaks that year. And you want to be really sure that things like your drugs, which are very unique to you, and your doctors, the ones that you really want to keep seeing, you want to ensure every year that whatever Medicare plan that you're on, and a vast majority of people in Nevada are on Medicare Advantage plans, you want to make sure that your plan is going to continue to offer you the same coverage that you're experiencing at present day. There have been lots of cases where people, they're taking a drug and they find out that that drug is, going from a tier 2 to a tier 4 on their plan, or their drug is going from covered to not covered at all. And that can really impact the cost that you incur for your healthcare over the year. Some doctors drop plans that they once took. Some doctors are added to plans as years go by. So it's just important to, especially around the open enrollment period, it's important to review those changes and ensure that your coverage will stay consistent and you don't experience any disruptions to your healthcare.
That's a very good point. I know it's been on the news that we here in Las Vegas are experiencing a shortage of doctors. I know even in my family and my own experience, some of our physicians have left the practice or left the state, and many people are searching for new physicians. And just, to piggyback on what you were saying about how important it is to stay abreast, you could have a situation where your physician is no longer here. And now, what do you need to do to find that physician that works in your plan, right? Because they need to be connected. So that is very important, the drugs and the doctors network. And then you mentioned something regarding cost. What were you thinking when you were talking about, and you thought that it would be important for us to talk about cost?
I think this point relates a lot back to the first one where, once you find coverage that is working for you, is in a, affordability range that you're comfortable with, you want to keep in that. You want to stay as consistent as you can. And that's another thing that you want to be really cognizant of every open enrollment is your costs. What are your costs going to look like next year? Are there certain services that you get a lot? Let's say a specific plan that you have a $5 copay for x-rays. And you get lots of x-rays, but something about your plan has changed and now your copay is $50. Is that a change that you're willing to accept and pay more for? Or is that something that you personally are not comfortable with and you want to reevaluate your options? That's something that is very important come open enrollment period. that's one thing. But another thing is, are you consistently struggling to afford your prescriptions or to afford healthcare? Do you not know what to do? It's very difficult to qualify for programs like Medicaid here in Nevada. Income threshold is pretty low. And some people are just over that threshold and they don't qualify for that program. So that's not Medicaid, is not the only hope that people have when looking for help to pay for their health costs. If you're somebody who is Medicare eligible, there are programs like Extra Help, also called LIS, Low Income Subsidy through Social Security. That's a federal program, but there's statewide programs, programs that are unique to Nevada that can help you pay your drug costs. There's Medicare savings programs that are federal also, but they're for people who don't necessarily qualify for Medicaid, but still have a low enough income where they're struggling to pay their medical bills. And things like that, or programs like Medicare savings program, will even help you pay part of your monthly Part B premium, that premium that comes out of your Social Security check. Yeah. They offer assistance with that. They offer assistance with, medical co-pays and things like that. There's lots of options for people who are struggling to pay their bills. And, even if you don't qualify for all those options, are you on the best plan that fits your need?
Yes.
Are you on a plan where your drugs are more expensive than they are on another plan? That, you gotta, unfortunately, it's not easy. It's not a walk in the park to figure out, what that best fit for you is, because it's going to be different for everyone. You might hear, this happens a lot in the senior community. You have a friend who's like, my plan is the best, go on my plan, and
yes,
it might be the best for you.
Right.
It might be the best for your friend as well, but everybody's health is different. So you can't always take those, referrals all the time. You gotta ensure that that really is the best fit for your unique health situation. And I know we're going to talk about it in the third point, but yeah, that's pretty much what I got for cost.
And that's why it's a good idea to have a conversation with you, because there are plans and support out there, financial support, that someone may not be aware that even exist, right? So you can bring that to their attention, something they just may not even be aware of. And as we always hear, just because your medicine works for you, you don't pass it on to your friend if she's got a headache and say, hey, this works for me, take this. You don't want to do that, because like you say, everyone's medical situation is different, very different. And so if we were to contact you, is there a charge for your services? How are you paid?
Great question. And this is one of the most common questions, because my services are completely free. At no point do any of my clients ever pay for what I do for them. And people are confused. How are you getting compensated for this?
How are you getting compensated?
Yes. So in the case of Medicare, we are compensated via whatever plan or insurer you choose to go with. They pay us a commission. And what's great about Medicare is that it is more regulated than other kinds of health insurance. So a Medicare broker is going to get paid the same exact commission no matter what plan they sell. There's no incentive. There's no financial incentive for me to funnel everybody I meet with into a single plan. I am unbiased completely. I'm certified with all the major plan offerers in Clark County. So the benefit with meeting with me is that I am only concerned about your scenario. I'm not concerned about like what the insurance company's goals are or this or that. If you don't end up going with the plan with me, that's fine. I'm here to educate and, give that clarity. I'm so glad that when you said, when we met, I gave you clarity because that's my number one goal is I want my clients who meet with me to come out of our meetings like, oh, I know what to do now,
Exactly.
So that's all my goal is. And if you do end up, finding your best fit with me, that's how I get compensated. So yeah, that's the gist of what I do. And it's been really rewarding to hear that from clients and provide that clarity.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. And that's where your third item on the list was talking about help, right?
Yes. That's the goal, and that's kind of what ties to number one and number two is all that we just talked about. Somebody who's even still working, or somebody who has a lot of health issues, or even somebody who's healthy but just gets confused at all this stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, how am I going to find all the time to do that? How am I going to find the time to apply for these programs, to understand these programs, to search through all these doctors' networks and see which ones mine fit in, things like that. It's very overwhelming. And that's exactly where I step in. I guide you through all that. A lot of that I do for you because as somebody who's licensed in this field, I understand it. I've got to say, I understand it a lot more intimately than understand these systems a lot more intimately than somebody who, has been a professional in another field for their whole career. Yeah. So I step in and I do a lot of that work for you, and the rest of it I guide you through it. And that's where that clarity comes in, and that's what I want to provide. So,
okay. So you mentioned that your license, much like myself, is the license issued by the state of Nevada or by an insurance entity that oversees the work that you do?
Yes, great question. So health insurance licenses or licenses to practice are issued state by state. So my license is from the Nevada Division of Insurance. That is a process where you have to do a certain amount of educational hours and then take an exam. And the passing rate is 80%, I believe. So if you get anything under, you have to take it again. So it's a pretty rigorous process. But it obviously keeps us with integrity and keeps us accountable to the people that we are meeting. Because this is important. Health and healthcare is important. So you want to make sure you know what you're talking about when you're helping people with that.
Most certainly. I recall when I was working with my parents on their healthcare. Is this something that you will do with the adult child of an insured person? Would you meet with them along with the person who needs the insurance so that maybe that adult child has a better understanding? Because many of us end up caring, for our parents and their affairs. That I know that would have been helpful to me. Would you also meet with them, with that person that needs the insurance as well?
Absolutely. It's something that I've done in the past, especially when that senior or that parent is having trouble, making those decisions on their own. That is a huge thing. When you have your own adult life, we talked a little bit about it. You had your own stuff going on, and then all of a sudden, your mom or your dad needed help. And then you're like, okay, I got to handle another person's whole life. And it's very stressful. And that is something that I'd absolutely jump in to help anybody with if they're in that scenario.
Yes, and I would highly encourage it. Like I said, I was taking care of my own needs, and I was not ready for that type of healthcare. So I didn't know anything about it, right? And so I had to learn very quickly. And it would have been wonderful to have someone like yourself, an advisor, that would have been able to explain things to me. So I'm glad that you're able to help people in that manner as well.
Right. Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you think that we should cover, in this being one of our first segments talking about the healthcare needs of the seniors? We definitely plan to have a few more because there's so much to talk about.
So much.
Anything else you feel is important? Shaniya?
The number one thing that I would say is be careful of those TV commercials.
Ah,
And
yes.
we talked about that a little bit. Those TV commercials can be very dangerous because I won't say that they're lying because those are regulated commercials, but they are warping the picture a little bit. The number one thing that I would say is that when you see these commercials and you see that number, which a lot of people call, that number doesn't lead you to a broker or an agent that's local here in Nevada. So, my mother has been an advisor, a healthcare benefits advisor for a lot longer than I have.
Yes.
And she's encountered countless people that have called those numbers and they're like, I went to the doctor and then suddenly they weren't accepting what I had anymore. They said I couldn't see them anymore. And that's because these hotlines that they're calling aren't familiar with the Vegas networks. So you really need, I would love to help people, as many as I can help. But as long as people have good and local brokers, I'm happy with that. When you're calling those numbers, those are not local brokers and they're not going to give you the best and the most thorough recommendation. They don't know what the formularies look like here. They don't know the doctors' networks. They don't know the plans. So they're just trying to get that commission and sign you up on something and then have you in their book of business. So
sounds much like real estate. Realtors. Realtors who are licensed outside of the state of Nevada, but it's, it can be a little difficult to know what's happening in the local market if you're not living in that market.
Yeah, or if you're not spending a lot of time, in the market, in any kind of professional capacity, you're just not going to be able to make a great recommendation. And that's not what you want to do for people who need healthcare. So just be careful of those commercials. Make sure you got a local broker.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. It is such valuable information. And again, Shaniya, we want to thank you so much for being on with us today. We look forward to having another chat with you and for you to be able to share so much of your knowledge and wisdom from being a healthcare benefits advisor. And again, we will have Shaniya's contact information up on the screen here. Please reach out to Shaniya directly. You don't want to post any questions here because we definitely don't want your personal information to be shared here, but you definitely want to reach out to Shaniya. She will welcome you. And she's actually someone that I will be working with as I move more towards that 65, right? But it's so much more exciting because the fear and anxiety that I had has been removed. And I feel very confident that, okay, I've got Shaniya. If I have any questions, call her up. And she knows all the answers. And so again, thank you so much for coming on today. And we will be looking forward to talking to you again, Shaniya.
Thanks, Ms. Bree. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Hey guys, my name is Bree Godfrey with the Godfrey Group. I work with buyers and sellers and investors throughout my career as being a real estate agent. I want to let you know that if you're looking for a real estate agent, you want to find someone that you can trust, someone that is knowledgeable of the local market. I also have referral partners that I work with across the globe. So please don't hesitate to give me a call at 650-776-9581. I'm the realtor that you need to help you reach your real estate goals.